First, we do the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. And we will have a roll call, please.
Pope is absent. Transier.
Here.
Bilshewski. Here. Closure.
Here.
Funkhauser.
Here.
Reader.
Here.
Trulis is absent. Peterson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thanks so much. Okay, is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented? A second?
second.
Any changes? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I like everyone's enthusiasm on that one. Presentations, do we have any presentations today?
We do have the, yep, we do have the 3 swearing-ins.
We do that right now? Chief Hart, it's all you right now. And Bob Johnson, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Okay. You read this or oh, I read this. Okay. Oh, sweet. Okay. So you're you folks. I'm John. Good to meet you. I'm John. Josh, I like that. It's easy to remember that, John. Okay, well, let me get in front of you there so I can actually catch you.
I said yet. It's where am I? I'm ORR.
Okay, tell me when you're
I'll be darned.
Gentlemen. Come on, we're trying to get this going. Okay, so please repeat after me. And when I say state your name, you say your name, not state your name. So, I state your name.
Ryan.
Oh, you don't excuse me, you should have it right hand.
Yeah,
Thank you. I apologize, we'll start again. You know, are you all family? Let me stand out of the way. Everybody's not trying to block anything.
Everyone's recording also.
Okay, we'll try this again. I state your name.
I, Ryan Fisher,
Having been appointed to the office of patrol officer
having been appointed to the office of patrol officer
in the United City of Yorkville,
in the United City of Yorkville,
in the county of Kendall aforesaid,
in the county of Kendall aforesaid,
do solemnly swear that I will support
do solemnly swear that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of patrol officer
of the office of patrol officer
of the United City of Yorkville Police Department
of the United City of Yorkville Police Department
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations. Oh, let's do pictures. Hey, I'm all about it.
And then you're, no, this only happens once.
Just right here, and then I'll get the video.
No, get in it, Heather.
Oh, I thought you just wanted that.
No?
Ah.
All right, you want to do Kyle's family first? Thanks. Everybody step out and just Kyle's friends and family first.
I wouldn't be too.
Yeah.
What about the chief? I don't know how this works. I have to tonight.
Well, wait, you want to get in the picture with him
Yeah,
again?
get it. I'll email you the picture. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, you can stand right next to me. Did you want to get photos too?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my dad.
And then I'll email you this picture.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Fisher, congrats. Awesome. Everybody here for Ryan?
Steve, you guys want to come up?
That's fantastic.
Dave, you heard me?
Yeah,
There we go. Perfect.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. We'll get you a picture, don't worry. Yeah, we'll get
Yeah,
you
we'll
one.
get him.
We just hired another guy who's nice guy, ENT. Really? You're getting easier.
Who you with tonight, Mike?
Are you all right?
Yeah, just got it.
Okay.
That's awesome.
You got okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. No public hearings today. I can't remember that. Hey, Rich, next time, next time we have new officers, we need to like cake, cookies, or donuts, or something like that. Okay? Okay, citizens' comments on agenda items. Are there any citizen comments on the current agenda? Oh, that shrunk pretty quickly. Whichever one he wants to come, just please state your name for the record at the microphone, please.
Yes, this is for agenda items.
We have items not on the agenda later in the,
Yes.
down at the bottom of the agenda. Yeah. Are you okay waiting until then? Okay. You have something for? Okay. I like that. Okay, thank you. No consent agenda? I like that too. Minutes for approval. We have the minutes of the regular city council meeting. Is there a motion to approve them from May 14, 2019? Motion. Second. I hear a second. Any discussion, changes? All in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, we have bill payments for approval. The amounts are, oh shoot, I have to go to my, thank you. I have the list, I don't know what they're for. Oh, is that what, right there? Just that's
Yes.
what, okay. I know what they're for, I just didn't read it over. $327,138.05 for FY19 vendors. $660,555.29 for FY20 vendors. $294,947.67 for the payroll ending 5/17/19, for a total of $1,282,641.01. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Your second? Second. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call, please.
Bunkhauser.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Clocher.
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Milczewski.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Okay, on to the mayor's report. I have appointments from the board and commissions, and the list should be in your packet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, on that one too. Yeah, you all get that. Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the mayor's appointments, including Chuck Pierce to the Board of Fire and Police Commission to a term ending May 2022. Susan Chacon to the Library Board to a term ending May 2022. Kelly Diedrich to the Park Board to a term ending May 2024. Rusty Hyde to the Park Board to a term ending May 2021. Deb Juarez to the Planning and Zoning Commission to a term ending May 2023. Rusty Hyatt to the Planning and Zoning Commission to a term ending May 2023. And Jim Jensen was present, thank you, Mr. Jensen, to the Police Pension Fund Board to a term ending May 2021. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second. Any discussion? You can do this by roll call, please.
Transier.
Aye.
Clocher.
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Milczewski.
Aye.
Bunkhauser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Next, we have the resolution to approve a settlement agreement and general release of all claims between Charlene Johnson and Tad Johnson in the United City of Yorkville. Is there a motion to allow the mayor and city clerk to execute this?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Second, is there any discussion? Anything you want to add to this? No? Okay, we will do a roll call on this as well, please.
Transier,
Aye.
Wiltshire,
Aye.
Peters,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Milczewski,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
motion carries.
Excellent, thank you very much. Next item is a resolution approving a transition agreement and mutual release between Police Chief Richard Hart and the United City of Yorkville. Is there a motion to approve? Motion.
Second.
Second. And that motion also includes the authorization for the mayor and the city clerk to execute. So thank you. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call, please.
Wiltshire,
Aye.
Peters,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Milczewski,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Transier,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. Now, there's a couple other items I have that are not on the agenda. One is, I'd like to thank the staff, Eric Deuce and his staff. I saw a couple of his staff members out yesterday. As you all know, the north side of town got hit really hard. The south side, I think it got mostly rain down there. But the staff came out. I happened to be near one of the staff members' houses when the storm ended, and immediately they went out, started cleaning up the storm gutters to get the water down. And so I just want to say thank you to you and your staff, because it made a huge difference. And they already started the brush pickup. I went through a couple of neighborhoods that were hard hit today, and some of the brush was starting to disappear. So we're going to have a nice big bonfire or something. Outside the city limits, of course.
I'll let the guys know.
Yeah, thank you. So, and the other thing is, Mr. Evans, we had, he helped with the Legion Memorial Day service yesterday, and he told me to be there about 11:15, 11:20, and he called me about 5 to 11. He says, "Get down here right now." So, well, actually, he said it nice. He said, "Can you please get down here quickly?" And I said, "I'll be right down." We started a few minutes early, but it was a nice service. Good turnout. I'd say there was a couple hundred people there, easily 200-300 people. So it was a nice turnout. So, yeah, thanks for all the help your staff went into it as well. Thank you. I appreciate it. So, okay. That's all I have under the mayor's report, unless there's something I missed. No one has anything I missed. Good. We'll move on. Public Works Committee report. Okay, we have the next item, a resolution approving a revised salary schedule and step increase for, what position is it for again?
Who's chair of public works? Joe.
Yes.
Oh, Joel usually handles that. I'm out of
Oh, I was
order.
gonna let you read them all, but
If you want me to, I will, but
I can, it's fine.
I have no problem if you do.
Entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving the revised salary schedule and step increase and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Oh, we need a second, yes.
Second.
Okay, so I'd still call a second, even though I don't read the motion. Okay, that's fair. Okay, is there any discussion on this, Mr. Funkhauser?
Nope.
Thank you. Mr. Plocher?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Okay, we'll do a roll call on this, please.
Peters,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
Milczewski,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Transier,
Aye.
Wiltshire,
Aye.
motion carries.
Next, we have East Orange Street Water Main Improvements Contract Awarded. Make a motion to accept the base bid in the amount not to exceed $389,900 plus alternate bid D in the amount not to exceed $101,310 and award the contract to Performance Construction and Engineering LLC in the amount not to exceed $491,210.
Is there a
Second. Second.
Milczewski. Any comments or questions? Well, I have some. So, please help me with this. I don't know if this is for Bart or Eric, either one of you. I know I've asked you this, Bart, but please explain to me the impacts on the budget of this item.
This is housed entirely within the water fund budget, and I believe that we had $490,000 budgeted for this project. So it is $1,210 over budget. That's an immaterial dollar amount compared to the total budget. I'd recommend kind of waiting and seeing if other projects come in under budget later in the year to offset that. So we're comfortable with the recommendation to approve as is.
Excellent. Any others? Roll call, please.
Peterson,
Aye.
Milczewski,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Transier,
Aye.
Wiltshire,
Aye.
Peters,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Public Works number 3, Church Street Sanitary Sewer Improvements Contract awarded. The motion to accept the bid and award contract to Performance Construction and Engineering LLC in the amount not to exceed $54,350.
There's a second.
Second.
Same question for Mr. Olson. Wait, let me ask, any aldermen have questions first? Now, that's Mr. Olson.
Yeah, we had $100,000 budgeted for this project out of the sewer fund because it's a sewer rehab project. So we must have used that grab number pretty early on in the budget process because the engineer's estimate was actually, I believe, somewhere in the $40,000 plus range. Bids came in at $54,000, but it was competitively bid between like 5 different bidders. So we were comfortable recommending the low bidder, even though it was higher than the engineer's estimate of probable construction cost, because it was still much less than what we had budgeted.
Okay, and there were no other, that last motion, weren't there some other projects that we tied into that?
That was the first one.
On the last motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there were none other that we want to tie into this one?
Correct. This one is standalone.
Excellent, thank you.
Just a quick question. Have we used this company before? This seems like a,
Yes, they actually did the work for us 2 years ago when we did all 3 repacking and
okay.
Where are they out?
Plano.
Oh, okay, excellent. Other questions? Good question.
Owner lives in town.
Okay, we'll take a roll call, please.
Milczewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Franzier.
Aye.
Polcher.
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Resurface rights. The motion to approve the ordinance authorizing the subordination of surface rights to the public road purpose to the state of Illinois for the Illinois Route 71 project from Illinois 47 to Orchard Road, authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
Second.
Okay, any questions from the alderman? Bart, just for the public, just give a brief rundown of this one, please.
Oh boy, okay. Briefly, we have easements alongside state routes. When the state comes through and does a expansion project, they have new easements and new rights to be able to access property and dig potentially over ours. So we are subordinating our rights, which means we are less important than the state's rights to be able to fix the roadway. Saying some nodding heads, so I think that's it.
That is correct. That was a good explanation.
And it was succinct, I liked it very much. Any questions? Whether you like it or not, it's something we need to do, so. Yes?
Do we have a full time frame of 71?
I don't think so.
It keeps getting pushed back.
Yeah.
But the complicated water stuff is fixed and we're past it, right?
Yeah, we're good on our end, out there waiting for some of the utilities to do it.
Still, yeah, I think they started last year on the utilities and said it would be about a construction season, so now it's been 1.5 almost.
It'll be one.
Thank you. Oh, and for the tape, I had somebody ask me this after the last meeting, that was Mr. Frieders asking a question. Somebody asked me which alderman was asking a specific question, and I didn't call your name, I apologize.
I like it.
Apparently so. Okay, no further discussion? Roll call, please.
Milczewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Franzier.
Aye.
Polcher.
Aye.
Frieders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thanks so much.
Public Works number 5, Route 47 improvements. Motion to approve the letter of understanding for the reconstruction of Illinois 47 from Kennedy Road in Yorkville to Cross Street in Sugar Grove project and authorize the mayor and to execute.
Second by Funkhauser. Okay, discussion, questions? Mr. Funkhauser.
There are just 2 points. When we talked about this in committee, there were 2 items. One about Wrigley, the intersection improvements or redo at Wrigley, that those lights are worst case scenario, that the potential for that is they may come down on that number. That's if they actually do have to replace it. The design was such that hopefully we don't, but that number is in there as a worst case. And then Bristol Bay Drive, I know we talked about it. It says that it's a 24-foot lane, but we want that to be at the 39, I believe. We want to confirm that that's how that would proceed, just so that's worst case scenario on the numbers, but that would match our city street width. So those are the only 2 things that came up that I noticed that might have an impact later.
Mr. Frieders.
And then Bristol Bay will actually be a right in, right out. It's not signalized right there. The Bristol Bay Drive.
Bristol Bay Drive would be a full access.
It is full access.
Yeah, that's my understanding is it's full
Which
access.
will
But
contribute
we're,
to slowing down the intersection at Galena.
but as the city's on the hook for the intersection improvements right now for a couple $1 million for the stoplight.
Right.
Now, we get a break on that hopefully as the state comes through. We don't have to pay that 100%.
Right. So my question is more in line with those improvements as they compare to Wrigley Way. So Wrigley, I'm trying to be as succinct as possible. So Wrigley, that's all us because that was kind of a authorized while they were doing engineering, correct? So,
Yes.
okay. So Bristol Bay, we talked about it while it is our request. That is something that they're engineering into the plan. Cool. So that also means that, sorry to cut you off, but that also means that the lights that are at Wrigley, if they do have to be replaced, we can still own them and use them in other areas, kind of like how we borrow the lights at Salmonock or Sycamore. So that would kind of go into our warehouse.
Technically, yes.
Okay.
Just a point of clarification, Wrigley Way's traffic signals were funded 100% by a state grant. We're not part of an expansion project at the time.
But we still own the lights themselves.
We do, because they are not even a local road, they are a private drive.
And to that point, that's why we are on the hook if they replace them as the Route 47. We're on the hook because it services a private use, not a public use.
Okay. But the road will be widened, so there is a chance that the electronics themselves might be usable. We might have to double them because it's a longer bar.
Well, we may, this is where we got into it with Brad, is they may have to redo the routing, all the wiring under the road, but hopefully the placement of the poles
Okay.
is good because they plan for the widening.
So we're living on a prayer halfway there. Got it.
Okay, any further discussion? I think we still need roll call, do we not?
Yes.
Okay, please.
Farnbazer,
Aye.
Transier. Wiltshire.
Aye.
Raiders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Wilczynski.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much.
Now, Public Works, number 6, disposal of public work vehicles. A motion to authorize staff to dispose of the 2012 Chevy Impala, 2003 Ford F-150, 2005 Ford Taurus, 2003 Ford F-150, and 2000 Ford Expedition, listed within the bid documents throughout, donation, scrap, or refuge, and authorize the mayor to execute the title documents.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second, sound like freers. Okay, any discussion on this? Okay, that's perfect. I like that.
Unison.
No questions, comments, nothing? Okay, we'll do roll call, please.
Transier.
Aye.
Wiltshire.
Aye.
Raiders.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Wilczynski.
Aye.
Farnbazer.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Economic Development Committee report.
No report.
I have one thing for that, even though it's going on a committee, probably should have a mayor's report, but I guess I can have that liberty here. Last week, was it last week?
Yes.
Yes. Bart, Lynn Dubacek, and myself attended the International Shopping Center Conference. Is that correct? Did I state that properly? In Las Vegas. It was a tough first week on the job, but I really was. I even said to Bart and Lynn both, I said, and I didn't say it in maybe these nice terms. I said, are you just trying to pull wool over my eyes? Do I really need to go to this? And they said it'd be helpful. And it was very helpful, very educational. It was good. Like a lot of these events, you do a lot of work on the floor. I saw Lynn. She's like, I swear to God, I said this to Lynn. She's like a teenager. She's been doing this matchmaking between this developer and that builder and this business. And it was kind of interesting to see. And then of course, afterwards, we went out all 3 nights, and some nights later than others. But we went some after hours, and we made a lot of good connections. So it was really good. In fact, there was one where we were at after hours. It was just we were invited to it that day, and I was talking to several people. And Lynn pulled me over and said, "Come here, come here." And then one of the gentlemen she met said, "Hey, this person's interested in doing this project in town." That was worth it. That was worth our getting invited to someone else's party. So anyway, I just want to say it was well worth it. So thank you, Bart and Lynn. It was a good time too. So that was my EDC report. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
You're fine.
Okay, Public Safety Committee report. Looks like you're
Right.
No, oh wait, he's here anyway, right? He's over there, he's gone, but there's no meeting. Okay, admin committee report.
Monthly treasurer's reports for March and April of 2019. Make a motion to approve the monthly treasurer's reports for March and April 2019.
That was Funkhausen, by the way, I didn't say that. Is there a second?
Second.
By Transier, thank you. Any discussion? Do a roll call, please.
Transier.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Readers.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
Milchewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is our required reporting to municipality by the Yorkville Police Pension Board. This is informational. There is the report in the packet. Rob did a very good job of explaining this the other night in committee. We're in a pretty good situation right now with this, watching and taking a look at where our numbers are on this. Our returns didn't come in as good as we had anticipated, but that doesn't put us in any bit of a negative position. We just have to keep an eye on that. I don't know, Rob, you want to add anything to that in terms of a couple of the salient points on there?
Well, just real quick, you kind of touched on it, the percent funded actually did increase. It was 47% at the end of the fiscal year 18. So even though we did fall a bit short, we assumed 7, we ended up at 5.4 to make progress. Again, this is old data that actually was presented to you initially during tax levy last fall. The levy requirement is 1.1 million, and is the exact amount that we would be levying. This summer, as property taxes come in, it should go, or it will go right to the police spending.
Any questions, comments? I have a couple actually. Thank you. So Rob, I believe this was a report, I could be wrong, but is this the report you said we crossed the threshold of, I think, 10 million, so it allows us to mix up our investments a little bit?
That's correct. Pursuant to state statute, pension fund that was at less than $10 million in total assets had a maximum cap of, I believe it was 45% equity, but now we can actually go up to 65% since we're over that 10 million mark. So we can do 55% equity and 10% fund. So I'm hopeful as that the years progress, now that we're in equity, which historically have been a much higher return than bonds, will start to meet and even exceed the 7% consistent basis.
Thank you. And then the other item, you mentioned this at the meeting. This is a relatively new pension fund. When was this created?
2002, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hence why it's not closer to 80, 90, or 100%
Correct.
funded. See, something I learned at the meeting. My mind was changing that. So thank you. And that was informational only?
Yes.
Any other questions? Mr. Funkhauser, continue, please.
Travel authorizations for fiscal year 2020. Make a motion to approve the travel authorizations for elected officials as presented in packet materials.
That was a second. Did you make the motion, Mr. Funkhauser?
Yes.
Or did you ask for it? Okay.
Motion.
Was that a second on your side by Mr. Peterson? Thank you so much. Any discussion on this?
Just to
Please.
point, these are our travel authorizations in order for us to, well, actually, the one was the shopping
IC.
center the ICSC conference, IML, as well as Metro Westif, I believe. And then there's a correction for one of them on the prior year because it's rectifying the numbers that were the actual numbers, since they were slightly over.
Any other questions, comments? On the one we just attended, I should thank Lynn. She used some of her vouchers. Is that what she used? Points. She used points, and so we actually didn't have to pay for the hotel. It was one of those timeshares, and it was pretty darn nice. I got the nice room too. It was awesome. Thank you. I kind of like this job for 2 weeks. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Readers. Peterson. Milchewski.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Transier.
Aye.
Fletcher.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Okay, we are on to the park board. Can I take this back over now?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, for the park board, we have ordinance 2019-35 authorizing the First Amendment already, to the annual budget for the fiscal year commencing on May 1st, 2019, ending April 30th, 2020. And this is for the Perks vehicle purchase. Is there a motion to approve? By Plocher, is there a second?
Second.
By Transier. And this, just to, if anyone asking, and you ask all you want when I'm done, but this was approved, these purchases were approved at the first meeting in April, I believe, by the city council. And my understanding is just the bid documents from the state didn't get back in time, so it was something that was authorized prior year, just came together this year. So, questions, comments?
So you are required to authorize the actual purchase because you just gave authorization to proceed and authorize amendment to the budget to incorporate these expenditures.
That's exactly, yes, thank you so much.
Sure.
Yes, that's why you're here. Questions, comments? Roll call, please.
Peterson,
Aye.
Milczewski,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Transier,
Aye.
Plocher,
Aye.
Readers,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you so much. Now we have the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have PTC 2019-10 and EDC 2019-35 ordinance approving the rezoning to the M1 Limited Manufacturing District of the property located north of the intersection of Goomba Boulevard and Commercial Drive, Lot 15, Yorkville Business Center. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Oh, boy, I think I heard Frieders first and Milczewski second.
Boy.
It was pretty close. Are there any questions or comments on this one? Christie, could you just give us a brief synopsis on this one, please?
Sure, the petitioner is Yorkville, they are under contract for 2 lots within the Yorkville Business Center. One lot is zone B3, the other one is N1. The type of use that they're proposing, which is kind of fabrication of their product as well as office use, requires a N1 zoning. So we're going to seek that rezoning, which they have to public hearing and consolidate the lots.
Excellent. Other questions, comments? And this is not out of character with the business park.
Correct.
Correct.
Actually, following trend development.
Thank you so much. We'll do a roll call, please.
Milczewski,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Transier,
Aye.
Plocher,
Aye.
Readers,
Aye.
Peterson,
Aye.
motion carries.
Excellent. Thank you so much. City council report. It's a report from any of you for the city council. Is that how that works? Mr. Frieders, for the record.
Just a quick update on the National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month Proclamation Project, sponsored by United City of Yorkville. The city of, or village of Hickory Hills and the village of Spring Grove both adopted the proclamation last week. The president of Spring Grove is also going to be having the proclamation read again on Thursday at a 5K up in Spring Grove that is centered around suicide prevention awareness. So, once again, more movement. And then since the last time we had a meeting, we did have the release of the beer that was brewed with Old Oregon Brewing and Hope for the Day that has mental health resources on the can itself. Dovetailing off of that, we've got another much larger project that we have a meeting with next week that could see some Midwest release with the idea that just because it sounds uncomfortable to talk about doesn't mean it isn't important. So the idea of actually having mental health and suicide prevention resources available on a package of alcohol might seem a little forward, but it's actually a pretty cool conversation to watch unfold. So again, thanks for sponsoring my activities. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for the update. And the other city council members have a report. City clerk's report.
No report, Your Honor.
Community and liaison reports. Do we have any of those? Guess not. We'll move on. Staff reports.
You have 2 items, Your Honor, if I can defer to Director Deuce and Director Evans.
Please do.
Just a little update for brush pickup for everyone, because that we, as you stated in the May, we started today, but we want to let everyone know that it's going to get off the brush. So you can continue putting out smart managed brush until Thursday, and we'll collect it. And if it runs into next week for us actually collecting it, then we're going to continue.
Want to stay with the parameters are?
The parameters, we like to see it no longer than 10 foot and no longer than 6 inches, or no larger than 6 inches.
Quick question on that.
Mr. Frieders.
I was told that my insurance adjuster won't be out until maybe the middle or end of next week. So if at all possible, maybe we can do this again once the smoke is kind of cleared? Because I know that I was told not to move my tree, although I already did, until after they see the damage.
We have the regularly scheduled brush pickup in like last week, this week.
I know the south side didn't take that much damage. Are you gonna do a sweep at the end, maybe
We're
of
going
that
to
side?
at the end, but we would just ask because that's just storm damage.
Yeah.
Have everybody run up.
Yeah, there isn't that much over there, but I know on Main Street well, just along the river, there was a tree down.
Was that Dan's place? I saw on Dan's place.
No, on this side of the river on Main, wrong Main,
Oh, you said North River, South River?
north of the river,
Oh, okay, I think it's south.
in the older, in Ward 2.
Oh,
Well, I guess I got both.
yeah, okay.
We have 2 Main Streets. Yeah, we're unique.
You did say.
East Main.
Yes.
Do we have the ability to run the street sweepers through for some of the brush in order to kind of keep some of the drains clear as we get some more rain?
will after we're done collecting, we need everybody.
Okay, but that is the plan,
That's
hopefully?
the plan actually starting next week. That's
Okay.
our schedule.
And thanks for chatting with me right after the storm. I appreciate it. The neighborhood appreciates everything being cleaned up from you guys. And, you know, it's been a very good effort from the
We
staff.
really appreciate all the residents.
Oh, it was
We
amazing.
got out there, a lot of it was cut off, we were able to just run right in with that equipment.
I can believe from yesterday, when that storm went through, to today, how much was.
Yeah, coming down this
chopped up
evening,
and
it was
side
nice.
roads?
Yeah.
Or-
If you would like to see just how much stuff up at Public Works, we have to store it in our shop right now
Oh,
because
yeah.
the driveway to our
Oh, my.
Is that where the material shed would have been?
normal. Yes, that's right, exactly.
Excellent.
We're putting it to good use right now.
Can we sell it for 300 grand?
Probably not.
Okay. Okay, wait, another staff report, or, did you have something, Tim?
Yes, just want to highlight a few events that are coming up over the next week and a half. We have on Saturday is the Walter Baby Sweetness Fund right here at the high school, as well as the Summer Farmers Market kicks off at Town Square at 10 a.m. Next Wednesday is the City School District Golf Outing on the Black Rails Golf Course. That night is the first treat night of the year down at River Park. And on Thursday, we have the Raging Waves Village of Oswego and City of Yorkville Movie Night at Raging Waves Water Park. There's also discounted tickets that day. If you want to purchase them online, you can get that information on the city website.
Questions? I have one, at least one. This question was posed. If a person has a season pass to the Raging Waves, are they allowed in the entrance at night, or don't you know that question?
You can go to the movie for free. Anybody can
Okay,
go
it's
for
just-
free.
Yes.
There's just a special discounted.
If you just want to do that.
day For anybody.
Okay.
They can use their season pass there and just come over to the movie that night. They go to the park, just stay in the water park, and they can slide over about 6:30.
Okay, and then a follow-up to that. Not that we've had much rain lately, but if we had a thunderstorm that night, is there a rescheduled date in mind, or is it just, it's that night or it's not that night?
It really just, we probably don't have a rescheduled date
Okay.
just because of coordinations with 2 other.
Sure, I understand that.
It really depends on, we can always reschedule the meeting, if they have licensing fee for that. We just have to contact the company that we licensing fee through. So we're only allowed to show it that day. We have to go back to that and reschedule.
Okay, excellent,
So, but yes, and we're always aware, I mean, obviously,
excellent. And then this golf outing next week is that's the
It's next
first,
Wednesday, June 5th.
and that's a joint one, right? First,
That's with the, school district.
that's an inaugural joint
Yes.
golf outing, right?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. If I said first annual, my wife always says, it's not the first annual, it's the inaugural. That's what I'm always told, so. It's true, huh? It's true.
That's right.
And if my wife says, it's definitely true.
Right.
So, okay, any other staff reports? Sorry. It was just what happens. Additional business? We have no need for executive session, is that correct?
That's correct.
Oh, that's good. And I know we have some citizen comments. Thank you. And again, state your name for the record when you step to the microphone, please. And thank you for waiting.
Oh, the pancake party.
Do you need a pen? Is that one not working?
Just a sign.
My name is Fred Dussel, 478 Kelly Avenue, Yorkville, River's Edge. A little brief background. Last year we were pursuing a issue with the train horns in the town. And I was motivated this year. We have a neighborhood blog. It's called River's Edge, Neighbors of River's Edge, and it was petitioned by a lady and mother in Heartland. She has an issue with her 2-year-old. It's being woken up by the train horns all the time. I told her I would represent for her tonight. She never sent me her narrative, but there again, we're having issues with the train horns. Today was beautiful, Memorial Day, no trains. But I understand the commerce, and they have a right to the track. And but when we moved here, McHugh built our house in River's Edge in 2003. We were told there were going to be 2 trains a day, one at 6 a.m. and one at 6 p.m., which is true. And that happened until 2011 when this fracking issue created a lot of incentive for out west with the fracking for silica sand out of the, I don't know what it's called now. It was RailNet back then. Nowadays, we're looking at probably 6 trains a day, and 3 of them are a lot of times during sleeping hours. So I propose from Jason Langston, who lives in Windet Ridge or Raintree, he mentioned putting up directional speakers at the crossing gates, which sounds like it'd be a lot more feasible than having quiet zones, which I understand is pretty expensive. I understand there's a Thomas, is Thomas here tonight? Okay. He's got information on that from the FRA, and he can probably expound on that. But anyway, I'm just hoping that maybe the council can look at doing this strategically by segment areas of the city, including the high populated areas like ours and White Oak and the downtown area, and maybe do legacy crossings. People could contribute on their own or through the group. And the funding could be done and also a referendum possibly. So with that, hopefully you guys can help out on getting some resolve on this peace and quiet for the quality of life for us and property values. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Are there other citizen comments?
Oh, defective pen.
We tightened the budget a little bit. I see you're a lefty, that's awesome.
Isn't it though?
Lefties are in their right mind, so I've been told.
Here you go. Thanks. So my name is Kathy Kelso. I also live in River's Edge, and we brought this up last year, and I guess we were more or less told that 2 things, that the trained people, engineers have I guess their code, so it's like one long horn, one shorter horn, and then 2 long horns. And that seems to be the way they do it. And I guess that's the rule for the railroad. And so I don't have a problem with that. Where I have a problem is, like we were told that it's extraordinarily expensive to have a quiet zone. And I don't know why. I don't know if it costs $1 million for research to figure that out. But on Eldamain North, there is a sign right over the railroad tracks, and it says, "No train horn Okay, well, why can't we have that? Why can't we have no train horn? Then if you go on like 30, and it might be Plainfield, or might be Oswego, I don't know. There's houses around there, and it also says, no train horn. And the trains go by, just like normal, and I haven't seen any roadside crosses, so I don't think anybody got hit by a train. I don't think that putting a sign up that says, no train horn would cost $1 million. Maybe the research to do that all costs $50,000 to $100,000. But for all the people that are impacted by this horn, I think it's worth some of our tax dollars. And that's why we voted you into office, so that you could support us for what our problems are in our communities. And this is a real problem. It's a problem for people with young kids, and we have a lot of young kids in our area. And the gate does go down, and you can hear the train coming by. But it seems to me that there's got to be a better way than waking up people at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and it's loud. And when your windows are open in the summer, you don't want to be around it. So anyway, there should be some kind, I don't think this problem is unsolvable. I think it's clearly solvable because other people have done it. And they probably have used a lot less money than I'm projecting. So we're asking that you actually, come up with a plan for us, for the people who expect you to help us. Okay, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
This one is not, this is the one she already broke. Thank you.
Hang on. It's going to be paid. Oh, okay.
Oh, good, thank you. Hello, my name is Sharon Lowy, and I live in White Oak Estates. And when I moved here in 2009, I was told that the train was only going to be there for another year or so. Don't get attached to it because it's leaving, and this is going to be a walking path. Well, it is not a walking path. It's a train track. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, it absolutely will take you out of any kind of sleep, and I'm a good sleeper. I think it has probably decreased the value of my home, probably by $100,000, which is not nice for me. I also know several people have tried to sell a property, and if the train is heard, the buyer goes away. I think that there's one train engineer that's meaner than all the rest because he starts honking way before he gets to us. But one of the horns is really right behind my house. It's just really unbearable. And I agree with Kathy. I'm sure there's a way to fix this. I'm not smart enough to do it, but I hope you are, and I hope you'll help us. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. We have the pen up there that's working now?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, she left one up.
Ron Kelso, River's Edge. A year ago when we spoke here, there was a lot of shared concern by our representatives. But obviously a year later, nothing's happened. I think money can become an excuse instead of reality. I don't know what to believe regarding money, the cost, and what not to believe, but I do know a few things. One, I'm a sound sleeper, and it wakes me up every night. I think you should find out what the decibel level is on these train whistles. In our house, it's spring. I know we open our windows now, and it sounds like the train is in the room. I mean, seriously, I don't know what families are doing with small kids. It's just, you know, I can't have a construction worker work at the house, you know, before 7 a.m. or whatever that rule is, and because it might make too much noise. But yet this, because public safety has a pass on all that. There has to be a better answer. I mean, the answer to is not, so a year we come back and we talk about this all over again and nothing's happened. I mean, we don't have the power in the community to do something about this. Others have solved the problem. Somebody needs to do the research that says, these are our options, and this is the direction that Yorkville is going to go. This problem isn't going away unless the train goes out of business. And as long as there's fracking, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So please come up with the solution. Give us a better option. Give us the quality of life. Give us what we thought we were coming to Yorkville for. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? No other comments? Accept a motion to adjourn. Oh, sure, please.
My name's Thomas Murphy. I've dealt with the city probably for about 4 years now. I was the general manager of the Illinois Railway, which ran through town here. So as a citizen, I hear the blogs and I hear what the fellow citizens are asking for. And it's just not that simple. I get it. The trains have been here since 1860, 1870. You put it in a timeline. There's 2 trains a day, 2 up, 2 back. Interchange happens in Aurora. Track speed's 25 mile an hour. We went through here in 2016, put over $15 million into the main line. And that was for the safety of everyone, not just Yorkville, but Oswego, Millbrook, go down the line. For 4 trains a day, I probably heard 5 complaints. And Bart, and I know I worked with Bart on a couple of these issues. There was not an overflowing of complaints that went on, mostly because my engineers, which I hired almost every one of them, that work for that come through this town. And it's regular assignments. They work, it's 2 trains a night, and there's a guy that works at 5 days a week, and there's another guy that works the other train at 5 days a week. So it's a consistent group of people that come through town, and they know the law, and the law is very specific. There's the FRA in 1994 consolidated all this because people went to a nighttime ban. Local communities such as Yorkville decided on their own, not saying Yorkville did this, but this happened throughout the United States. So the federal government had to come in and mandate and regulate this because it caused too many accidents. Kendall County has 34 public crossings, 45 private. I may have that flip-flopped. And majority of that in Kendall County is considered here, Yorkville. And I know that because I've gone up and down these lines, whether it be on train or in high rail, and you're dealing with a lot of public crossings. If you get past if you go past the east of Van of really Mill, now you're dealing with people's driveways. You're dealing with people's backyards. All those require the same horn sequence as any crossing that's gated, crossing with flashers or crossing with crosswalks. That's the law. Now, yes, you can petition for a quiet zone. But to do that, you're going to have to bring every crossing up to a minimum of flashers. And I don't know if that's going to get you. The regulations are pretty new in that. Is that you used to be able to get by with that. But when you look at, I ran it through the calculator today, and every crossing from, I think, Morgan to Mill would all have to be gates. So you'd have to petition the ICC, much like Hoover Road was done. And I was part of Hoover Road, getting the crosswalks and gates up there. Now, you can petition the ICC, I think it's District 5 that has this area, and start looking at this, but the answer that they're gonna come back with, which has always been what every time I've come to town meetings like this, I've done it throughout, my railroad career in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Illinois, is it's going to be, what are you willing to give up? And they're asking for crossings. The ICC isn't just gonna start funding crossings without getting something in return. And the question is, what are you willing to close? And that's something you have to consider when you're asking for, it's these type of zones and these type of regulated, because now you become a part of that. I've been at Elmwood Park when they were looking to do they had this new system that told people when a train was approaching into the stations for Metro. And the same thing I told when I lived in Elmwood Park is, and they asked me to come as just represent the understanding of the railroad technology. And I'm going to tell you, the minute you start involving yourselves as a community, City of Yorkville, you now are on the hook, as you talked about little kids, understanding that you have a high trespassing area through downtown Yorkville. We just talked about cruise night. The minute you put cruise night in, the engineers, even if you had a quiet zone, are now going to what? Blow the horn. Because you have now just added people in and around the railroad tracks that quite frankly aren't supposed to be there. And that's where you're going to add. When you add the fact that in this quiet zone request, there is a clause specifically for trespassing. If the study's done, even if you just had worked with the railroad to do that study, the railroad immediately would sit there and look at downtown Yorkville and say it's a high trespassing zone. And the federal government would look at that as a high trespassing zone. Why? Because you literally have a parking lot next to the railroad tracks. And there's nothing to stop a trespasser, someone walking out of, walking from one of the local establishments and going across the tracks. There's nothing to protect their safety from that. And that's part of the reason why this becomes a very hot topic. Like, I've done this and I understand everyone's frustration, but this is part of when, if you need help, you got to talk to the local railroad. The local railroad, in the 4 years I was in charge of it, never got approached by it. This was even a consideration. I got it on a blog. Reality. So if you want their help or you want the direction on how to go, that's where you need to start. And the local railroads will guide you to the best they can, but it's going to become an Interstate Commerce Commission issue. It's going to be it's going to be an FRA issue. So you're looking at a lot of government bodies to get this to work, and then doesn't mean you're going to pass. And I can tell you right now, downtown Yorkville, you're going to have to close crossings. There's 9 crossings at a quarter mile or half mile. You're going to have to close some. So that's kind of how that works. Like I said, I'm local. I've been here for 4 years and always been a part of what's needed, even in the downtown area, for improvement and making sure that we had extra added horn when we do have events at River Night. I've moved on from that position, but still kind of tied to what goes on in the community.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Come forward, please.
My name is Thomas Milszewski. I live in downtown Yorkville. I've lived there for over 20 years, and I've seen a lot of stuff online about this train horn. And the short answer is, it's been there for over 140 years. We've lived for over 20 years. I know it's loud. Half the night when I get up, I think it's my mother yelling at my dad, but it's not, it's the train horn. I think people asking for this to be a silent zone is really, it's not logical, because I travel through Aurora to pick up people at the train station all the time. I know how many crossings are there. I know how many people's driveways are there. That is not going to be cheap. And And I just think there's people who lived in the area. When they moved in, they knew what they were moving around, and now they want to fight it, and I don't think that's right. So that's my 2 cents about the train horn. I like it.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Can I comment again?
Just briefly, we'd really like to have you speak once. Just briefly.
I grew up in Ron Kelso. I grew up in Franklin Park. Incredible amount of industry, trains, tracks everywhere. And I can tell you, train whistles weren't a problem there. We listened to him, it sounds like the problem's impossible. No towns can figure this out. We live in Yorkville. This can be figured out. The only solution is not, you got to spend millions of dollars and this is an impossible situation. I don't buy it for a second. My last point is there must be a lot of people that are deaf that are dying on the tracks because they can't hear the train whistle no matter how loud it is. There are other senses, visual. There's other ways to warn people. And, to create something so that nighttime sleep can happen is not an unreasonable request.
Mr. Frieders, you had one comment?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. I think it was 2 years ago. It was around the time when we were talking about the house on 47 by Ron Clark Park. The meeting was in this room for Public Works. We had done a preliminary study. So because we work with EEI, their engineer over in Montgomery, Pete Wallers, he got their quiet zone approved, but I think it was for 2 intersections. 1 or 2 intersections.
2 train lines, and we didn't do the study, we were proposing to do the
Correct,
study.
yeah. But thankfully, we had an engineer who had gone through the steps, and he gave us if this, then that. So all logic for every single intersection. And the closest we could come to making reality happen would be to literally close 5 of the 9 crossings. Like that was the only way to do it. And then when you separated it, you look at it, zoom out, what could you get rid of? So you can't get rid of your neighborhood because there's houses behind the train line, so you can't get rid of that. And then we went down to the downtown area. If we got rid of them, that didn't stop the problem. We still had to put up the barriers between the roadway and the parking lot of the properties that were in front of it. So it became this thing where no matter what we wanted to do, if we wanted to have a downtown that wasn't a bunch of fences, I don't remember how tall they were, how thick they had to be, but it ended up where instead of just those 9 intersections or 9 crossings having impacts of anywhere between $200,000 and $400,000, it's not just that. It's not just closing the crossing, it's making everything in between so that, like you said, somebody can't get onto the train without having to jump over something. Just because you have good intentions doesn't mean the end result's gonna be awesome. We did the preliminary study without spending the 20 grand on going out for actual bid for the process. Because Pete works with EEI, they're our engineers. We knew what it cost at a minimum. And the hardest thing to swallow wasn't the money. It was the fact that you're gonna be cutting off more intersections, creating bigger problems. So it's not that we've been short-sighted or not wanting to spend the money. We talked about how much it would be at a minimum. And it didn't make sense to have a group of people on one side of town. I wanna say it was in the millions of dollars. Like if you go on the Yorkville website and look up train study, or like Montgomery train Wallers, look up those 3 things, where I can actually look on it and send it to you. We've done the preliminary research, just didn't pull the trigger on the $20,000 study because we have that resource at our disposal. It's a lot more complicated than just 9 individual crossings. It's when you do shut those down, what else do you have to put up? So the idea of having like a gated downtown doesn't strike me as being something that I would, number one, want to invest money in, but it looks more like a penitentiary than downtown. So we're very, very limited with what our options are, but it's either a whole boatload of money or it's blocking off Yorkville and shutting down crossings. And that didn't seem like that was a reasonable thing to do. So I understand, it sucks. I've only been down there a few times when the train comes by, and it comes down every time there's solstice. I'm not saying it's part of our charm because it is obnoxious. But I also had friends that moved right next to LAX in Los Angeles, and there were things that the builders of their apartment buildings did that made it a little bit more palatable. And I'm not putting everything on you, but I'm letting you know that it's a lot more complicated than just the intersections and the money. It's because if this, then that, but then there's a whole bunch of stuff that we don't understand. So I don't want to close off all of the downtown crossings, because now you just got to wonder, okay, you got a deer. You can't cross because there's a 5-foot gated fence with barbed wire at the top. Now we've got things that we've never even imagined becoming problems. So I've been working a lot on this whole suicide prevention thing. One of the things that they do down in Tennessee, the old public works director in Montgomery, Brent, he moved down to Tennessee, I think. Yeah, he's a public works director down there now. They just installed gates on one of their bridges as a means of suicide prevention. So you have all of these things that interplay. Well, what if we go this far and now there's a whole different problem that we're kind of exposing? So while I agree it sucks all the way around, nobody up here has ever said that it didn't suck. We just know that the amount of hoops you have to jump through aren't just financial. There are things that we can't foresee that we would have to address eventually, and it's a lot bigger nut to crack. So I totally appreciate the comments, but we have done this research very, very recently. And if you look at Montgomery, they're super easy. It's parallel with where they are. Ours intersects right down the middle. And
Thank you, Mr.
We are what we are.
Okay. 1 minute, and then we're gonna end this, because this is really not a debate session, this is public comment. I'll be glad to let any of you talk afterwards, but just let's keep this focused.
I just have a question. Alderman Frieders.
No, we're not, it's not a question and answer session, it's just a public comment. You want to talk to them afterwards, you're more welcome, but it's not public.
In other words, we can't do this incrementally?
We're not gonna do back and forth, that's not what this is about. You can talk to them afterwards if you want, but this is just a public comment. Anyone else? Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion. A second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.